Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack.
When he says, when our freedom came under attack, it showed a use of pathos because he was saying our very freedom, so he could have just said, referring to like the people, but he was referring to our very freedom came under attack.
In a series of deliberate and deadly.
When he says deliberate and deadly is also use of pathos and ethos because it is the use of the language and emotional tone.
Terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices. Secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors.
This is the use of logos when he is referring to the victims, which are all facts because all these victims were these people. They were federal workers, they were moms and dads, and they were friends and neighbors.
Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror.
This is a use of pathos because he makes the certain word choice of using evil. He could have just said horrible acts or something to that meaning, but he said evil. And another thing is when he said despicable acts of terror, he really meant despicable by using pathos.
The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger.
He says unyielding anger, which is a use of ethos, because he could have just said people are angry, but he said unyielding anger, which makes a good word choice.
These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. But they have failed. Our country is strong.
When he says, but they have failed, our country is strong, he is using pathos by leading the people and telling them that they will be okay and that their country is still stable. But he is also using ethos because the language, how he says it in two separate sentences by saying, but they have failed, and then he pauses, and then our country is strong, which is using ethos.
A great people has been moved to defend a great nation.
A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. He could have just said people are defending our nation, but he said great people and we have a great nation, which is the use of ethos.
Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America.
This is also a use of pathos because he is saying they cannot touch the foundation of America, which is an emotional tone, saying that even if we have a couple of dents, we're still good.
These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
This is still referring to pathos because like I said before, they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. It's using emotion, saying how America is still good and we are stable after 9/11.
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world.
This is a use of ethos because he says freedom and opportunity when he says for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world. He is saying that basically we're the best, but he didn't want to make it sound like it was a threat to anyone else, so he said freedom and opportunity in the world. Another thing is that it's the use of pathos because the brightest beacon is referring to emotion, which is saying that they targeted us because we're good people.
and no one will keep that light from shining. Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could. Immediately following the first attack, I implemented our government's emergency response
Implemented is a very good word choice, which is the use of ethos.
plans. Our military is powerful, and it's prepared.
That is a use of ethos because he says our military is powerful and it is prepared. He said, and he had a nice pause when he said that, so it was the use of ethos. He could have just said our military is good and we're ready to go.
Our emergency teams are working in New York City and Washington, D.C. to help with local rescue efforts. Our first priority is to get help to those who have been injured and to take every precaution to protect our citizens at home and around the world from further attacks.
I said this was a use of pathos, and this is my own opinion, but the way he says that sounds like he is giving the people first. He's not giving like the military the power to go after whoever did this, but he's using his words are saying to protect the people.
The functions of our government continue without interruption. Federal agencies in Washington, which had to be evacuated today, are reopening for essential personnel tonight and will be open for business tomorrow. Our financial institutions remain strong, and the American economy will be open for business as well. The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice.
The way he says to bring them to justice means like I think it means no mercy, and I use this as pathos because they want to find whoever hurt our country and take them down.
We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
Another thing is pathos and ethos this time, because we will make no distinction, which is a very good word choice, and I chose ethos for that. And another was no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them, which is pathos, because they're going to take them down, and he used emotion to make his words flow and to make it sound like he's taking them down.
I appreciate so very much the members of Congress who have joined me in strongly condemning these attacks.
This is a use of ethos when he says strongly condemning, which is a very good word choice.
And on behalf of the American people, I thank the many world leaders who have called to offer their condolences and assistance. America and our friends and allies join with all those who want peace and security in the world, and we stand together to win the war against terrorism.
This is a use of pathos because the way he says this is we stand together to win the war against terrorism, which is emotional because they want our people to be safe. And another thing is it is ethos when he says America and our friends. Our friends is very good because he's not just saying, he says allies after, but our friends sounds very good instead of just allies, which is a very good word choice, which I chose ethos.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve, for the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened. And I pray they will be comforted by a power greater than any of us, spoken through the ages in Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. This is a day when all Americans...
This is very good because